Hello everyone. So in this video, we'll be creating the APIs that are required for a project. So for the backend server one, we'll be simply creating two APIs. If you remember, like in the previous video, we created one static web page, and in the backend server one, you know, column, if you can remember, we have endpoint one and endpoint two. So those two endpoints will be linked to these two APIs. So let's log into our backend server one, and there will be create two APIs in Node. Let's get back to Nginx console. Take public IP of backend server one, open Mova Extra, create a session, SSH, paste this public IP, use the private key, open, okay. Well, the username is Ubuntu. So we are in the backend server one. Here we will create two APIs that will be in Node. So first install Node.js, sudo apt install Node.js. Well, we need to first upgrade the server. Sudo apt, sorry, it's update. So the server is now updated. Now let's install the Node.js. So we'll say yes. The Node.js is now being installed. The Node.js is now installed. Check the Node version, Node -v. So it's 8.10. Let's create one directory where we'll paste the code file for our APIs. So I've created one directory, my application. Let's go into that directory. Now we need to create, install npm module, sudo apt install npm. Npm is now installing. It will take 30 seconds. The npm is installed now. Let's initialize the npm. We need to give the different parameter name if it's required. Well, since we are doing this for a random project, so let's leave it blank. It will take now the default values. Just do enter. Well, yes. So if you can check, we have one file created, that is package.json. Whenever we initialize npm, this package.json file is created, and it includes all those information that we just passed on, and we have not entered anything, but we could have given the name of the application or the version and the description and other things. Well, that is a standard code practice done by the developers. Now install the Express framework. Npm install Express -1 is save. So this is now created. Let's create the APIs now. Sudo nano index.js. I'm using here the nano editor. You can also use other editors like viii or vim. So we are in the nano editor. We are creating one index.js file. In this file, we'll be creating the APIs. Let's declare one constant express. Well, I'm writing here the code. You can skip this as well. I'll be attaching this code file for the APIs with this video. You can just copy it and paste it in the editor and just do whatever I have done. Another variable app express. We'll now define the port on which it will be running. We are taking this at port 3000. Let's create the request type like the first API that we are creating, that has a URI with slash. So this will be the endpoint. Request and we'll write the response here, like what response we want when we are hitting this URI. Well, I'll say like this is the response coming from backend server 1, or I'll say like endpoint 1. This message I am writing just so that we can easily understand when we are hitting these URIs in the browser or while our validation purpose. Let's create another endpoint. Let's say it like /test. Okay, the same format we need to follow that we did for the first API. Just send. So this is the response coming from backend. I'm again repeating this. It's backend server 2, and yeah, so I'll also define the endpoint here. So our two APIs are now created. Just close this. I think it's done now. We just need to define the log part as well. app.listen, that's port, and that's like, yeah, so console.log. So I'm defining here like what log will get printed. The log is like app is listening on port, suppose it's 3000. I think it's done. Let's save the file. Let's run this Node.js file. So there is some error with this line. Okay, maybe I have used double braces here. So let's open the file. Just remove this brace. Okay, just do node index.js. Well, the app is listening on port 3000. Just to check whether the service is running or not, well, I need to take the public IP, just paste it, and if you remember, the port is 3000. The first request is /. Let's go to the security group of Backend-Server-1. So these are the security groups. Let's check the inbound rules. So the port 3000 is not open. We need to go to this security group, launch wizard 3, and just edit the inbound rules. Add the port 3000 here. This is port 3000, and I'm opening it for anywhere. Save the root. It's saved. Go back to the console. Now try the API. Well, I'm getting the response. This is the response coming from Backend-Server-1 endpoint 1. Now hit the second API. If you remember, the port was 3000 and the URI was test. So this is the response coming from Backend-Server 2. Now we have successfully set up the APIs, or you can say the services, for the Backend-Server-1. Now in the next video, we'll be setting the same services for the backend server